There is a dark and deeply haunted history in the woods of Shelby Oaks.
It is a chilly late October afternoon. I've turned the car around so that I'm not in direct sunlight, and in just about 20 minutes, I will be catching a screening of Chris Stuckmann's Shelby Oaks. Welcome to Initial Reactions, where I give my preconceptions about a movie and then my very first thoughts about said movie as I'm leaving the theater. Chris Stuckmann is a guy who doesn't really need that much of an introduction. He's a YouTube film reviewer who was actually the first, I believe, to be counted as a Rotten Tomatoes critic, meaning that whenever his review of a movie went up, it got counted amongst the critic scores and the weight average for a movie score on that site. Now, personally, I've always been more of a Jeremy Jahns, Flick Pick, or even Schmozno type of guy. That wasn't to say Chris Stuckmann wasn't animated or didn't have a personality. Far from it, more often than not, he was engaging to watch. In fact, some would argue that his hilariosity reviews are some of the best videos he ever made. In fact, if anything, I found Chris Stuckmann to be sort of the perfect counterbalance to Jeremy Jahns. Jeremy Jahns was, and could be argued still is, a bit of a film bro. Like, he's very casual, but mostly talks about blockbuster, mainstream stuff, whereas Chris Stuckmann would always cover stuff from film festivals, or independent projects, or older movies. But then somewhere along the line, he started kind of toning things down. First it was sort of getting rid of hilariosity, and now it seems like he's just completely abandoned giving ratings to movies altogether. Probably his most infamous video to date is his one on Madam Web. Now, anybody who's seen the movie knows that that movie sucked. Like, it was awful. Now, of course, Chris Stuckmann, being a film reviewer, the expectation would be he reviewed the movie and he would also join the hate train against Madam Web. Instead, he released a video saying that he was not going to review the movie and saying that, well, a movie is hard to make, you know, so we shouldn't really dogpile on them. And that got a lot of backlash. I don't know if that comment is still there, but I think Angry Joe put it best. He said that the whole point of these bad reviews is to hold studios accountable and to say, hey, this is garbage, we don't accept garbage, make good movies. And he was disappointed in Chris because Chris has always been a champion of the independent filmmaker, of standing up to studios that try to crush visions and try to impose their friends to do the writing and producing and directing. But to explain that, we have to rewind the clock back to around 2020-2021, when he announced that he would be making his first feature film, Shelby Oaks. Initially, it was announced as a Kickstarter, and if I recall, it broke the record for fastest growing Kickstarter or highest grossing Kickstarter within a 24-hour period. Eventually, Neon picked it up, and Mike Flanagan came on board as a producer, and after a few setbacks and a premiere at a festival a year ago, the film is finally out. Now, a lot of people are seeing his change in style, and the fact that he's less harsh in his criticisms is him sort of trying to butter up to the industry. Now, I will say that I don't agree with what he did, but I understand it. The film industry is a highly populated but very high-dense industry. Word gets around quick, and if you say or do something that ticks off the wrong person, that's more or less the end of a career right there. The movie initially got very positive reviews when it came out, but since then it has dropped all the way to being rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, with top critics giving it 25%, and audiences have been less than kind. I'm curious to see how this goes, because on the one hand, I really think it's important to support YouTubers who want to cross the threshold into becoming professional filmmakers, but at the same time, we have to be honest. If this movie sucks, then we have to say it sucks. We can offer constructive criticism, but we shouldn't try and downplay if a movie is bad. I'm not going to be nice to this movie just because I liked Chris Stuckmann's videos. I should probably get going now. It's already getting a little past start time. Don't want to be late. But I will see you after the show, and maybe, just maybe, I'll be Stuckmannized. Well, that was certainly a horror movie, alright. I will say that as a first feature film, it's not the worst, which may sound like a bit of a backhanded compliment, but I say that because I know there was a lot of hype surrounding this movie when it first came out, A lot of people were saying that, oh, Chris Stuckmann, he's going to be the next big name in horror. But honestly, whatever those people saw, I didn't see. There's competent direction, some decent scares, the performances are strong, but there are character choices that are outright stupid, and the ending is just... what was that? When all is said and done, this movie is serviceable. It is neither some great vision that sets Chris Stuckmann up as the next great name in horror, nor is it schlock that will kill his career before it begins. It's a perfectly serviceable horror movie that's come out just in time for Halloween. If you're a horror junkie and you just watch any and all horror movies, you have like shelves upon shelves of DVDs, you'll get some enjoyment out of this. But if you were looking for something with a bit more meat on the bones, or were hoping that this was Chris Stuckmann's grand triumphant debut into film, you'll be disappointed.